to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to say I'm joined here with former Dundee United manager Tam Courts. Tam, first of all, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you for the invite, appreciate it.
20 years a player, is that right?
Yeah, wasn't exactly a notable career like we were just discussing there, but yeah, played the game for a long time, started off at Livingston and then found my way into the semi-professional game and made a lot of friends and a lot of good memories, so yeah.
Was coaching always on the cards for you, or did you find your way into that by default?
I think it was probably more the leadership side of things. I think as a footballer I was always the captain or someone that was, you know, a confidant of the manager, or the players can come to me for advice. So having that type of responsibility is something that I've always enjoyed, always thrived on. So it was probably more the management side of things that appealed to me as a player. And then naturally when you get that opportunity at 32 years old at Celtic Hearts, it just felt like a really natural transition for me, even though the first 3 years were as a player manager, which has some challenges in itself.
When you went into Dundee United then, you first started in the youth development side of things. Were you surprised to get the opportunity to manage the first team so early on?
Probably was, yeah. I think even similar to the situation I'm in just now, Kerry, I actually take like a long-term approach to my career. And the reason I went to the academy at Dundee United at the time is because there was a lot of really smart people who are now working at, you know, quite a high level in academy football. And I just felt like that was a real skills gap for someone like me to hopefully at some point be a manager at a club like Dundee United, where I can actually prove that I've got management capability, understand the youth pathway, and I've coached at different levels. So it was a bit of a calculated approach for me. And then when the opportunity to manage at Dundee United came, probably on reflection, it did come, you know, a little bit earlier than expected. And there was almost like a perfect storm of circumstances with, you know, the COVID situation. I got to take the team for 10 days. And then I think it was the realisation that I had the capability. And for that season, I gave it absolutely everything. And thankfully, we finished in the Europa Conference qualification position. So it was a good season.
Was there anybody in particular that you had gone to for advice before you took the job?
I'm someone that speaks to managers, you know, all the time. Even now on the sabbatical, I like to speak to managers at different levels. And I think the key thing for me is just being really kind of clear and sure in your own head that you have the capability to add value. I think the appointment at the time was something quite unique. It gathered a bit of attention, and that was something that for me was probably a positive thing, because it probably told me at the earliest opportunity that I need to be ready for this. I need to have clear ideas, and I need to recognise the responsibility of managing a club like Dundee United, and hopefully I did the role justice in the season that I was there.
Well, you then moved on to Budapest. Was there any regrets that you left Dundee United too quickly?
I think you're always open to that accusation, because my time in Budapest wasn't as long as, you know, where I'd managed previously. But I think for the experience gained and the reasons for wanting to take that opportunity, and that's probably the reason it's taken me a while to actually want to get myself back in, because I do take that long-term approach in my career. I want to make sure that I am equipped for the long term. I do see myself managing into my elder years. I know Neil Warnock's come to Scotland recently. I do still see myself involved in the game. I think this period for me has probably been a period to really get back to networking, learning, documenting, and you are open to that accusation that you probably left too quickly, but I've got absolutely no regrets. Had a really fascinating couple of years that's been, you know, great for my experience and will only prepare me for the future, no doubt.
Why Budapest then? What was the attraction there?
I think similar to Dundee United, the big club historically in that country, they had an on-site residential academy, brand new stadium, brand new training facility, and in the previous 2 seasons they had narrowly avoided relegation on the last day of the season. So it was clearly a very complicated role. But the opportunity to work abroad, to work with somebody that I knew from Dundee United in the sporting director role was quite attractive. And also that there's not many Scottish coaches and managers that go abroad. So for me, the timing of it was too good to refuse. There was other opportunities in that summer as well. But I just felt like actually working abroad and getting that opportunity was a really good thing for this stage of my managerial career. What
went wrong in your eyes then? Why did you decide to leave?
I think the decision at Dundee United was primarily around seeking new opportunity. I think we you could argue punched above our weight at Dundee United that season. I think the previous season we had finished 9th, and even when you look at some of the statistics around the performance of the team, it was felt that 9th was probably an overperformance. So the following season, with essentially the same players, to finish 4th, I actually felt like it was a good opportunity to try something different, to try something new, and pass the baton over to obviously someone else at Dundee United. And unfortunately for them, things didn't quite go according to plan. And you could even argue for me, it was a learning experience. It was a complicated club, a complex opportunity, but it's one that I don't look back on with any real regrets. And like I said to you, off camera, Budapest, an unbelievable city, great experience for my family, and I feel like it prepares me better for the future.
Would you say that that's helped you in terms of development in your coaching, moving abroad so early on?
Yeah, I think even if you actually just look at the games, I mean, I'm a big advocate of the Scottish game. I like to talk the game up. I like to talk the national team up. I think the game's in a very healthy position in Scotland, but also in the same token, to go to a European country where the tactical details different, the challenges in game are different. I just felt like at this stage of my development, it was a good opportunity to go and get exposed to that and try and help the club get back to the level that they were once at. And not to kind of like throw stats and data, but we actually had a very solid first round of games. We won the last 2 games, I think, before I left as well. We played the most young players in the league, and the club was actually in a decent position. But one thing you realise about Hungarian football is that they're not slow to pull the trigger, and it tends to be a bit of a domino effect. So if one club makes a change, the rest make the change, and that's probably one thing that I maybe could have and should have actually done a little bit differently. Is I think moving forward as a manager, to actually get the majority of the stakeholders to agree that you're the preferred candidate is good. But I think you really need a unanimous backing to actually do the job properly, especially when the job's complicated and complex like that was. So that was probably a learn for me and a reflection for sure.
Would you like to come back here to Scotland? You're saying you've just got your pro licence now. Is that the plan, to come back and manage here?
Yeah, definitely open to it anyway. I remember doing an interview when I just came back from Budapest, and I remember saying at the time that I was ready, that I was looking, and then I actually caught the bug of my pro licence. It's probably the first time where I've actually had some proper time outside the game, where a lot of the learning actually happens inside the game, week to week, day to day, with all the different challenges. So this period for me has been really good to do some travelling, get the time with people like the Scotland manager as well, who's been generous with time, and just pick the brains of people to make sure that when I come back, I've actually got a higher potential of actually working to Neil Warnock's age in football. So yeah, that's the plan anyway.
Have you had any offers to get back in?
There has been offers, and there's been discussions, and sometimes I'm maybe not quite the right fit at the end. Other times, the more you look at an opportunity, it's not quite right for me. And again, I look at some managers who jump maybe too quickly, and that's their prerogative to do that. I've just taken the view that I want to take this bit of time, but I definitely feel like it's coming to a natural end just now, and it's ready to get back on the training pitch.
Is it Premiership level you would like to go in at? Would you go Championship? Have you got a preference?
I don't really have a preference, and without sounding too cliched, I think when you see the best work I've done, it's always been working with people that are compatible with me. So I just think getting the right people that understand management, leadership, the complexity of actually building a team and actually getting a result on a Saturday. Football is really, really difficult profession. So actually working with the right people is probably my priority just now. And whether it's in Scotland at different levels or abroad again, I'm probably open to all opportunities. And the realisation is maybe it'll probably be the end of the season for me just now. But again, I've come this far, I've committed this far, and I'm not in a rush, but I am also kind of ready to work again.
Would you go in as an assistant somewhere then?
It's something I've actually only ever done once at Dundee United in the academy, and it's something I actually really enjoyed. I think some people would naturally see me as the manager type. I enjoy the responsibility, I like to be the figurehead, but also similarly to the answer I just gave there, I think if you're working with the right person, and a big emphasis that I've placed on my managerial career so far is to actually work as a management team. I think the success that I've had, my first job at Dundee United, yes, as a manager, you'll cop a lot of the flack if the team's not doing well, and you'll get some of the plaudits, but that was a real collective effort from, the owner, sporting director, to the wider management team. And I really relied on my staff at Dundee United, and I think at the end of it and the outcome, it was definitely a collective effort for sure.
So what type of manager would you say a chairman is getting when they employ Tam Courts?
I think for me, everything in football is relationships, it's dynamics, and I think I'm someone who is known to be quite demanding of myself, demanding of other people. But I think the key thing for me is, and I think the game's going back to this as well, where the game belongs to players, and I think helping players feel prepared, to feel supported, and to actually feel like their own individual qualities represented in the team, that's really important to me as well. But the only misstep I've actually had in my career so far is actually going to Budapest. Otherwise, it's been very successful to this point. So, yeah, I'm someone that likes to achieve big things. I'm someone who is really passionate, obsessed about football. And ultimately, I've got the bug for the game, and that's just something that, even in your capacity, we've all got it.
Definitely. Well, I'm just going to ask you about Scotland now as we move into the Euros this summer. We're in a group with Germany, Hungary and Switzerland. What do you make of the group that we're in amongst?
Yes, I think as a Scotland fan just now, you know, it wouldn't matter who's in the group. You feel optimistic. I look at the calibre of players that we've got, the pedigree of them, and I look at what Steve Clarke's built over the last few years, and it's a fearless group of players. The nation's on side, and I think we've got as good a chance as any, genuinely, to progress from the group and do well. It's a fantastic time to be a Scotland fan, and the players seem to show up regularly and consistently, and I think that's usually a barometer of success, because when international teams are not doing particularly well, you'll start to see late call-offs, people not pitching up. But Steve Clarke and his management style is obviously known to be quite direct with these things, and I think what's been achieved in the last 4.5 years has been truly phenomenal. So I'm backing us to get out of this group for sure.
You mentioned Steve Clarke earlier. Did he give you any advice on the management side of things?
I think before we got to the advice, I'll actually share a funny story. I was actually late for our meeting because I'm a proper Fifer, so he gave me time before the League Cup final, and he gave me this address for a restaurant called Cecchini's in Ardrossan, and I left him plenty of time. And I stopped for fuel, and instead of actually clicking back on the sat-nav to take me to Ardrossan, I actually clicked on the restaurant to go to Ayr. So he actually texted me at 9:03 to say, "Tam, where are you?" Oh. So I had to very, very quickly get from Ayr to Ardrossan. But the hour and a half that I actually spent with him was fabulous. Really honest guy, open sharer, gave me some brilliant pointers about, the dressing rooms that he's been exposed to, what he does as a priority, because it might be that I could go back in mid-season, which is a different approach to going in at the end of the season. So just some of those little takeaways and the level that he's operated at, and the humility of him was first class as well. And thankfully he didn't actually, turn me away when I was late for him as well.
How much credit does he deserve then when you look at the national sides?
Phenomenal. I just think that his personality, his approach, the pedigree that he's got, everything's just been perfect for Scotland so far. And the players seem like they're really clear in terms of his ideas, the expectations that are placed on them, and some of the results and the consistency of performances have been truly remarkable. And it now seems like there's competition in every single position. And he's a guy that's not going to overstate that, or he's not going to overpromise, but because of the level that he's operated at and the time that he's got to prepare his team and the squad, I think there'll be game plans in place and an expectation on his behalf to try and push into the latter rounds.
How far can we get in your eyes?
I'd love to see Scotland get out the group, and probably then as some sort of underdog really look to get to the latter stages. I think you've seen in recent campaigns where, Republic of Ireland and Wales, etc., have done really, really well from a really organised, compact shape, having game plans. So, yeah, not to put too much pressure on, but I'd love to see us get into the latter stages of a tournament, because the energy that would build up in Scotland if we were to get out the group and start attacking the latter stages, it would be, I could actually almost feel like the goosebumps actually on my shoulders there, because it would just be phenomenal energy if we can actually do that.
Tam, you've been absolutely excellent. Thank you for joining me here today. For all the latest breaking news stories, please hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and don't forget to download our app, which is available on Google Play and the App Store.